I'm Evan, and I've over the last 5 years, I've kind of I've been flying airplanes for about 20 years now. I started flying when I was 15.
Evan, welcome to the Pilot to Pilot podcast, man.
Hello.
What's up,
Thanks,
dude?
man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We kind of mentioned before, I haven't interviewed too many Canadian pilots, so I'm really interested to kind of get a better understanding what general aviation looks like in Canada, what you're doing. I can relate to the single pilot stuff. I have probably like 2,500 hours of single pilot turbine time. You know, I was doing single pilot freight, flying a PC-12 in a Caravan all over Canada, all over North America, down into Mexico. Yeah. So I know the single pilot life, man. It can be very interesting sometimes. I learned so much about flying from my single pilot days and weather, and you're doing it in the Rockies and the mountains with weather, with icing. So you're doing it in a very, very interesting place, to say the least.
Yeah, I could relate to pretty much everything you said and a few other things.
Yeah, right. Well, I always like to bring it back to the beginning. So tell me originally, what was the original inspiration for you even to want to be a pilot or get involved with aviation?
Well, when I was 14, so this would have been 21 years ago, actually, I just went to my local flying call. Well, it wasn't even a college. They had 3 airplanes. It was actually the guy that started WestJet.
Oh, no way.
He started up a small little flight school called Morgan Air, and I think that was, I don't know if that was sort of the backup plan, as if WestJet didn't really work out, then the flight school was still there. I'm not really sure how that came to be, but the fella had a flight school as well, and the instructors there were all charter pilots working for this other company, so they had a lot of experience. And there was this lady that offered to train me to fly. Basically, you just walked in. No one wanted to be a pilot 20 years ago because there were no jobs, so they would literally give you the airplane, and you could build hours for next to nothing.
Right.
And this kind of inspired me to, I'm going to do my private license. And I never really wanted to be necessarily a pilot, because I thought, well, it'd be more fun just to fly for fun. So private license, and then kind of worked my way through all the other ratings and stuff. And then flying became pretty cool to me. Like I liked more of the mechanics behind the airplanes and stuff like that. So for me, flying was only part of what I was really interested in. And then flying up here in Canada, obviously the scenery is amazing. It's long distances between airports, so it's not like on your 300 nautical mile cross country. I think you have to do that in the States to get your license. It's literally like to go to an airport is 100 to 300 nautical miles sometimes. So there's nothing in between. So that was the training here really kind of got your mind going on like how adventurous you could be with an airplane up here in Canada too. So so I was really inspired. I owe a lot of it to my flight instructor. She was a huge part of like why I even got my license. So when I finally finished my commercial and everything, I tried to find a job, and there were no jobs. Like there was nothing. No one would hire. There were so many pilots out there already that were way more experienced than me. And so I just kind of started networking with other individuals at the airport. Wasn't really looking for a job. That kind of, I think there's a thing where it's like, as soon as you're pursuing something, it seems really hard to get. And then as soon as you stop paying attention to it, all of a sudden all these opportunities start coming.
Yeah, you're like, where were you 5 years ago? It's like, what the heck?
Yeah. So I've only done contract flying. So my first gig was this fellow that I knew who was doing the same work I'm doing now. He was managing a couple of turboprops for these private owners, and he said, "Hey, like I'm going to get into helicopters now. Here, how about I know this young pilot who's pretty good, and he's a fun guy, and how about you guys just hire him for a little while, and then I can go fly helicopters." And so that's how I got my first gig, and I was way underqualified. I don't know how the insurance company even passed me, because I had maybe 50 hours of turbine time to my name.
Dang, dude.
That was it. And the insurance was the easiest thing ever. They just said, yep, he's good to go. Like if you say he's good, he's good to go. So then my first time flying private clients was my first time. That was, my first day on the job was just by myself, taking people out to Vancouver and, to Kelowna. It was just right into the work. So, and then since then, I just kind of learned how to do it myself, and that
Yeah.
was it was all single pilot operations for the most part. We do fly two pilots a lot of the time now, but
Oh, cool.
still, it's depending on the availability of pilots and stuff like that. I've had to find some other ones that are kind of here and there, but a lot of airline. I've had to pull some people from the airlines, obviously, that are
Yeah.
sort of like semi-retired now, and they're pretty, because they want to do this contract flying as like a
Yeah.
side gig. But I've done that ever since, and just managed the airplanes and provided the crew, and then obviously done a lot of the flying myself. So yeah, and it's led to so many cool opportunities. Like I don't do I'd say it's kind of 80-20 rule. Like 20% of it is flying, 80% of it is, well, all the other extra things you get to do when you arrive there, and you usually spend a few days at your destinations, and it's all great because you're still working. As I say, it's like you get your work, or you get paid to be there as a pilot, not necessarily to do the duties of a pilot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, so it's been a real blessing. I have to say this has been a pretty cool opportunity. So that's hence why I
Absolutely.
haven't moved from this. It's just been too awesome.
Was there, you mentioned you never really wanted to kind of like be a professional, not necessarily, you didn't say professional pilot, but like do it for a living. Was that necessarily just the side of airline pilot per se? You were always kind of interested in see how you can
Yeah, it
make
was
money off
because of
aviation?
I wanted the flexibility
Hmm.
of being able to fly. Well, first of all, the people that I'm flying, like I know most of them. So unless they're new coming onto the airplane, or they're friends I haven't met before, most of them I've known. So there's that personal connection. Like I could hire someone that's 10 times the hours as me, and they'd still look and be like, but he's not Evan. You know what I mean? So it's just that there's that connection as well that I
Yeah.
have with the people that I'm flying, and then also uh, it's this kind of flying allowed me to do a lot of other things as well as keep my aviation passion going. So like I might fly maybe 1 hour for one day, and then have 2 days somewhere, and then but in between that time you're either scheduling the next stuff, or you got downtime to I can do a lot of my other work as well. So once I kind of fell into that sort of lifestyle of having the opportunity to work on multiple projects at the same time, instead of flying 12 hours a day with turns here and there. And this lifestyle it just allowed for different things. So it's not like you're not busy, because it does get crazy busy, but
Yeah.
it's a lot more flexible.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, when you say you can fly for 1 hour and then be in a place, you can be in Vancouver for 3 or 4 days, it's like kind of like a no brainer. Or Banff. I think you posted about Banff recently, or just something
Yeah,
that reminded me of Banff.
so thankfully I live pretty close to Banff and
Oh,
all
dude,
that stuff.
that's
So we're
awesome.
just like an hour drive there. So it's like we'll even go out there just for the day. You just drive out to,
Dream destination. I need to make it out there.
it is. I remember like doing lots of traveling to when I was in New Zealand one time, and then because I went there for the mountains, and then I was getting all these advertisements like, come visit Banff, and you're like, man, I just so yeah, so it is awesome to be up here, and there's so many cool places in North America to
Yeah.
explore. It's just up here is unique because there's so much less population density, or like the population density is a lot lower here. So if you want to go into the mountains, and you can easily just get lost by yourself and not see anybody for thousands of miles.
Yeah.
It's pretty
It's very
cool.
Canadian, right? I remember the
Yeah,
first time I
yeah.
flew to St. John's, and I think it was like 300 miles from my destination at like 43,000 feet. And ATC is like, all right, we're canceling your IFR. You're going VFR now. I was like, wait, what? I was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Yeah.
It's like I still have like an hour and a half left on my flight. Like, I'm not going VFR.
Yeah. Or here you just go direct to, and
Yeah.
they'll figure it out.
It's crazy.
Or say Newfoundland. I haven't. Canada's so big. It's
Yeah,
like
Canada's massive.
I've actually never been to Newfoundland. Like there's so much I haven't seen yet
Yeah.
of Canada because it's so far away. That it's now I think I'm like, maybe I should go to Newfoundland now that you said it.
Yeah, like maybe I should book a trip right now. Yeah, all right, I'm gonna go. I'm going now. Apparently, there's a really nice golf course out there. I don't know if it's called like Hawkesbury or whatever it's called, but in that area, we've flown to this really tiny, uncontrolled airport it's by this, I guess where the water, the seas like come up really fast. And I can't remember exactly what it's called, but we didn't get to see it because obviously my last job they ran is pretty ragged.
Yeah.
But we flew there all the time. There's tons of jets there too. And it's like, how do people find this place? And it was just really cool to see. So you should go. You should definitely go.
Awesome.
I think right after this podcast, you should go take off and go east.
Book a ticket. Yeah,
just go.
And so that was kind of like the lifestyle fit for me. And I've even thought, I'm like, well, like it would be. I've got lots of friends that fly in the airlines, lots of friends that fly for all sorts of different things, and it's always been a passion of mine. Like it's just different. Like there's so many avenues you can take in aviation that. This was the path that I sort of stumbled upon. It wasn't intentional at all, but here I am, and this is what I've come to really, really enjoy. So,
but I think that's what's kind of the best about aviation is there is this like wide range of paths that you can go down. Usually people see CFI, they see regional, they see airline pilot, but there are so many people. One of the things I realized from this podcast is like, there's a straight line to a career, but I mean, you're going to have options presented to you that you can take you all the way off course where you think's off course, and you can eventually wind yourself back up to the airline pilot. Yeah. So I always tell people, never say no to things. Like, you might get this really cool opportunity to fly aerial survey, and you might get to build your hours that way, or you could go fly in Canada. They could go fly with you. You could do so many different things, and you might end up back to the airline side, or you might be like, I kind of like this. Like I have the schedule flexibility. I'm making enough money to do what I want to do, and I fly cool planes and do cool stuff. And I mean, as a pilot, the dream is, for me at least, I say, my dream is to go fly somewhere, hang out for 24, 36 hours and do like one flight back. It's like, I don't want to fly 5 legs a day. I want to go travel. Exactly. I want the freedom of it. And you can have that with a lot of aspects of aviation.
Yeah, totally. And that's kind of where, that's exactly where I'm at now, is that the flying is the easiest part. It's just the managing of people and scheduling. And or I shouldn't even say scheduling. It's just, you have to wear many hats doing this kind of work because you are kind of a one person operation. So that's why, even like using a lot of the Garmin stuff was actually really important. Like I would, especially with the Garmin Pilot app, that kind of stuff. When I talked to Kyle, they were really kind of pushing this new app, and I was like, okay, well, I use flightplan.com all the time because I was crossing the border like several times every week, and so I was like, okay, well, this is probably something I can switch to, but it was hard for me to go from one app to another. But when I used it, I was like, man, this is like I was flying a single pilot airplane, or turboprop single pilot with people in the back that want to drink, and it's just you, and you're going into the mountains, and then all of a sudden the weather's crappy, and all this. It like that kind of stuff was a big part of what makes this possible. Is the technology that you use in the airplane, because it's like I always tell people this. I'm like, okay, no matter what, we are landing in exactly 5 hours. Because that's when we run out of fuel. So if we don't figure out our stuff within that amount of time, we're landing. The technology, especially like what Garmin's done, has been revolutionary, especially in the last like 3 years. Crazy how fast that stuff has come.
There's been a lot of advancements, and what they've been able to bring to GA has just been incredible. And the safety, whether it's auto land, whether it's just enhancements to Safe Taxi, and Garmin Pilot itself, there's just so many cool things that can really just help you out. And one thing I miss most from flying the Latitude and the G5000 is Safe Taxi, especially when we're going to big major 121 airports and not be able to look at my avionics and be like, all right, there's this taxiway, there's that. You look down at Garmin Pilot and you can see, all right, visual NOTAMs, I know that's closed already. So what they've been able to do has been really cool. And it is definitely handy with you too. And then you add having weather on there and having weather on your avionics, having weather on Garmin Pilot. It can help you make a really good
useful,
kind of decision.
And especially I find that everything is like all the Garmin stuff is like they do a lot of like they come up with new stuff all the time, but it's very similar to the previous. Like it's like the ergonomics are the same, so you can literally come into like a new avionics system. I don't think I've ever opened up a manual on how to operate.
You should
anything.
open up manuals if you want to fly the plane. Should open up manuals. And you should read it. But
You
yeah, you don't
should,
have
but
to.
I don't
Yeah.
think I ever have. I've always just sat there and just figured it out because
Yeah.
Garmin stuff is so easy to like
Oh, for
learn
sure.
how it works.
Yeah.
That it like you don't have to, and that's always been one of the biggest things why I always thought like all the Garmin stuff was why it's
Yeah.
so popular too, is because they've designed it really well in how how you utilize it, so it's efficient.
Right.
and
It
I've
feels
used
like it was designed for pilots, right? Like it feels like it was designed by pilots for pilots, and you can
Yeah.
essentially go from a G1000, sit in a G3000 or G5000, and
yeah.
pretty much figure your way around and do everything
Oh
you
yeah,
need to
for
do.
sure. Like, and I've done that before, and I've
Yeah.
tried other I've used Collins stuff, lots of different types of avionics systems where there is a bit of a learning curve, but the Garmin stuff is just like it's just so easy. And there's
Yeah.
there's teams for each brand of avionics and stuff, but I think that's why you see every airplane now is equipped with that's when you see an airplane for sale, that's usually one of the first things they mention before they even mention the engine times is like Garmin upgrades.
Yeah.
So
What
that makes
avionics
sense,
do you
right?
have?
Like,
Like, yeah. Don't
what-
worry about the engine. We can go past TBO, but what avionics
yeah,
do you
yeah,
have?
avionics which is funny because the most that avionics turn over pretty quickly. So still, especially in the airplanes that I'm flying, the whole value in the airplane is really in the engines and
Mhm.
the autopilot. So we have all the Garmin autopilots now in these airplanes, and then obviously the touchscreen displays are pretty important. But that's it. No
Yeah.
one cares about the interior. No one cares about the the airframe time.
Kind of like icing on the cake, right? The interior. Yeah. I mean, if it looks nice, it looks nice, but like, get me there. Yeah. Get me there
Yeah,
safely.
we want engines and Garmin.
Yeah.
That's it.
What kind of planes are you flying?
So the ones I've always been flying are Cessna Conquests. They're 425, so they're called the Conquest One. So they're awesome little twin turboprops. They're kind of like a King Air, but a little bit narrower. Sorry, not narrower, but they're narrower on the top. But
Okay.
they have like just incredible performance capability. They burn very little fuel, and everybody wants them right now. So I've sold or had one airplane that sold, and it was like immediate, like asking price.
Oh,
They
really?
came, they didn't even do a pre-buy. They just picked it up. So maybe.
No,
I
oh my gosh, that's crazy.
I don't know.
You're like, all right, cool. Yeah, sure. You can take it.
Yeah, but these airplanes have been incredible machines, and especially for flying up here in Canada because a lot of the runways are shorter. So we operate out of there's lots of 3,000-foot strips that were there from when the airports were built. Whereas you go to the United States, and it's like you go to a small town, they got a 7,000-foot runway. It's
Nicely
like,
paved with an
that's
ILS and
small.
RNAV. Yeah.
Yeah, or there's lots of small airports with short runways, but there's always an option to go to like a right next door. There's usually a runway that's fat and long and easy to land on.
There's airports everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah. So up here, those airplanes are essential. Turboprops are great. The jets, obviously, they can go to the big airports, but once you have the turboprop capability, and that's why a lot of the owners that I've been flying around, they've either come from flying in jets, but now they want to go, they have fishing lodges in different places, or they want to get into these other smaller airports that give them access to where their business is. And that's the capability that these turboprops offer, is that. But then also they can go long distances, so it's not like you're restrained by the speed or anything like that. Because like these airplanes, they're very niche. Like they're fast, but we can also get them into some pretty small, tight little airports and stuff. And
Do they have Garrett's? Do they run Garrett engines?
no, there's a Conquest 2 which does have Garrett's, and
Okay.
it's like a stretched version. I have literally zero experience flying those airplanes. I've always stuck to the 425, so they have the Pratts on them.
Give me a Pratt, man.
Yeah, I'm a Pratt guy too. They
Yeah.
start easy up here.
Yeah. I mean, it's Canadian too, right? Pratt?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, so
I think I'm pretty sure they're still Canadian. I don't know if the ownership has changed since.
You never know.
then,
But,
yeah, it's
at
always
one point, it was a
Pratt
Canadian
Canada.
brand, right?
yeah.
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 I think the only Conquest that I've seen, because I feel like they're not very common, right? Like you're not
No.
going to see you see King Air, you'll see pretty much any kind of multi-engine turbine other than a Conquest wherever you go. And the only one that I have seen has been a Garrett. I just remember the the propellers and how loud that
Oh
engine
yeah,
is.
those
And it's
things.
like, why would you want to fly that? But this is the first time
Yeah,
I've actually had any kind of insight into what a Conquest can offer. And
yeah.
it sounds like a great airplane.
They're an awesome airplane. The nose is long too, so we always throw skis, and I always throw
Yeah.
paddle boards in there. So if I'm
Oh, sick.
flying somewhere, like this coming week, it was just a short flight with a client that I go pretty much every week with, and we do an hour flight down to Spokane, and then I throw paddle boards in the airplane. Then we'll go and, or while they're doing their thing, I just hit the river and chill out, and then the next day we fly home. So it's like
Yeah.
it's pretty it's a pretty capable airplane. We can load the thing up with fish when we do fishing trips. We can fill the passenger seats and still go you know just over 1,000 nautical miles. We've taken them to Mexico, across the Gulf. Like they're awesome little airplanes. And once I think once an owner, like, and usually like these aren't owner flown airplanes necessarily. I mean, none of the ones that I fly are. They're the owners aren't pilots, so they're just sitting in the back paying the bills. All they care about is the reliability of the airplane and how much it costs,
Hmm.
and they all love these airplanes. I had one owner that he had a CJ3, I think older Citation. He had a King Air, a Cessna 340, like one of those small little piston poppers, and then he had a Cheyenne. He had another King Air F90. He's owned like every airplane in the book. Uh, and then he bought one of these Conquests, and he's just like, no, this is hands down the best airplane. He's just the guy that sits in the back, pays the bills. So
Yeah. I'll take it.
so that says a lot to me, because it's not like necessarily, like, it's a fairly easy airplane to fly.
Yeah.
But it's different when a pilot says, "Oh, I really like this airplane," because I think every pilot, if they're in an airplane, they learn to love it.
Exactly. Right. You learn to love
Yeah,
the quirks of every airplane that they have.
yeah, yeah,
Um, you're kind of gonna be a Canadian ambassador right now. A lot of people that listen to this podcast are probably going to be in the lower 48, and they're only going to know like the airports that we go to or the cool places that we fly to.
yeah.
And on top of that, the people I've talked to in Canada, they are usually kind of east of where you are. Where you fly is probably some really cool scenery, some really cool small
Oh, it's
airports.
insane. Yeah.
Can you give me a top 5 or top 3, whatever you want to do, of like places that anyone should like put on their airport goal list or places to fly list, where you live and where you fly?
Really cool place is in western. Well, it's actually kind of on the eastern part of the Rockies. It's actually in British Columbia, but it's called Fairmont Hot Springs.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in a place called Invermere. There's a few airports kind of in the valley there, but the south of there is an airport called Cranbrook, and if you just go north of there, there's an airport called Fairmont Hot Springs, and that to me it's just a really cool spot, because you kind of get a combination of like lake life and all that sort of stuff, but you get to fly through the valley, and I think they do like a little fly-in every once in a while. I've gone to one of their pancake breakfasts where it was like 8 airplanes showed up, and that was it, kind of thing. But it's a beautiful spot to like a incredible place to fly, and it does have a couple of IFR approaches, but they're it's limited. Like I always say, if an airport here has IFR approaches in the mountains, you basically, like, the IFR approach is at VFR minimums in a lot of cases, because you have to do like a shuttle descent.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think.
Absolutely. Totally understand that.
But that'd be one of them. Obviously, on the coast, there's a place called Haida Gwaii. The island's just south of Alaska. Lots of big fishing camps up there. Some know it as the Queen Charlotte Islands. There's a place called Sandspit, which is a pretty cool airport to fly into. And then for more challenging strips, a place called Nelson, British Columbia, Canada. A lot of them are in BC, but there's so many cool places. Like if you have a float plane up here, there's unlimited lakes. Like just go to a lake and build your own little cabin, and I don't know, you can probably name the lake if you want, and people.
It's as easy as that, right? Just build your cabin. Yeah. This is Evans Lake now.
Yeah, because Canada's so vast, and
Yeah.
airplanes play a huge role in especially in the north, for how people get around. But those would be some really interesting airports that I've been to. If you go further east, there's some really cool places in Manitoba. northern Manitoba, especially once you get further north on Hudson's Bay,
Hmm.
where you can get into kind of polar bear territory. But
Oh,
that's
dang.
a little bit more northern Canada flying.
Yeah.
So you got to have you want to have the knowledge of how to fly up there.
Yeah. And some fuel,
And
because not every airport you fly to is going to have the fuel for you to get out of
yeah,
there.
that's a problem. Like, I had a fellow that wanted to go up there, and he wanted to buy, or he wanted to take I think it was some sort of it was a cool airplane, but he wanted to fly it all the way up to Baffin Island, which is North Canada.
Hmm.
And the problem was avgas, and he had it all planned out. And then I was like, man, like I don't think you can get avgas fuel up there. Like they might drop a drum or two at certain airports, and that was the problem. They killed the trip because he's like, shoot, I didn't realize that there's no fuel at a lot of these airports.
It's like, what do you mean there's no fuel in an airport? Yeah. It's very
Yeah,
foreign. Yeah.
and up there you have to plan ahead. Sometimes you have to make sure that there is actually going to be fuel there. Because when I was learning to fly, I'd fly to some airports where you land and there's literally nothing, like
Yeah.
just an airstrip, and it'd be in a place where there's a town and everything, but it's like, well, if you want to get any services, you better walk to town and get somebody, walk to the gas station and get a connection there, and they can come and help you unlock the fuel, to get fuel, right?
That's funny.
Whereas that's one nice thing about flying in the United States is that everywhere you go, the service is like top, like it is top notch. Like
Yeah.
there's always a place where someone will be able to help you.
Or a phone number to call, and someone will be there in 20 minutes, and you'll have fuel and you get out. Yeah.
And the services are like that. It's like,
Yep.
In America, the people are ready to supply the airplane with what you need, and
They're ready to take your money, right?
yeah. Well, they will, but then like some of the best deals I found in the States.
Yeah,
Whereas
that's true.
sometimes
Yeah.
in Canada, you come here and you go to an FBO and you realize you're like, man, they did nothing. Like they did absolutely nothing, and they sent you a $600 bill.
Yeah, and they charged you the most. Yeah.
Yes, the Canadian.
I
Yes,
gotta love it.
Canadian.
I got one of my Canada stories of flying. I got de-iced in a hangar one time. That was the first time that ever happened. They didn't have type
in a
1, they
hangar?
only had type 4.
Yeah.
So they didn't. We put us in before it started snowing, and they're like, "All right, we're going to throw you some type 1 on real quick, and make sure it fits your hold over time." And you go out and you take off. It's like, all right, well, I guess that works. But it was in our AOM. It's like, this is acceptable at these certain airports. And it's like, okay, this is a first for sure. But
Yeah,
it's just different.
Yeah, and like I've always found up here too. I mean, just because the airports are so there's a lot less airports that your options are limited too. So you have less competition. I mean, there's some airports I know that there's only one FBO within. Like all the other airports don't have services, and then the one airport that is really busy only has one FBO. So that when you land there, you're going to pay
Premium
30-40% higher fuel rates there, and they're sitting right next to a refinery.
Like, I know you get this cheap. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Canada's a strange place. We're a little strange up here, but it's a beautiful place to fly. Totally worth it.
The other strange thing you guys do is the mandatory frequency. That is not something in the United States, and I feel like that trips some people up.
That's we owe credit to our lack of just hiring air traffic controllers. But so there's lots of airports where they'll have like I don't even know what you call it. This was flight school stuff, but a guy or a lady in the control tower that does no controlling. They just relay messages to other airplanes and provide traffic updates, which is more comforting than talking to pilots, because sometimes, when you're, I don't know, maybe you can relate to this, when you're flying and it's just nice to hear an air traffic
100%.
controller, because you feel like they're like helping you out, even though, you're still in control of the plane. It's just comforting to know. Like there's times where you're flying and you don't talk to anybody for like 20 minutes, and then you're just like, then you hear someone on the radio and you're like,
hey,
there's someone there.
We're still here. Yeah, we're not in a simulation anymore. All right, cool. Yeah. I mean, and it helps you. I mean, there's been times where, you line up on final and you look 5 miles out and you're like, wait, there's an airplane landing the opposite runway. It's like mandatory frequency can I mean, I'm guessing it can still happen, but it makes a little bit of safety in there, right?
Yeah,
So I
they
mean,
use it at airports that don't really require the need
mhm,
for air traffic control, but they have enough traffic going on that they need someone to
yeah,
help delegate, or to help organize what's going on and
yeah.
provide information. And like I said, like I remember I flew into what was it, Palm Springs, and it was the worst airport I've ever flown into in my life. It was so disorganized, and the sort of audacity of some of the pilots there to just literally they don't make radio calls and they land on runways, and the people are yelling at like pilots are yelling at each other. And as a Canadian, being in that and seeing how that worked, I was like, why isn't there a controller here? Like they got
Mhm,
the airport's big, like they got 20 airplanes trying to get IFR clearance and trying to do circuits, and then a
yeah.
jet comes in and he decides, no, I'm just going to land on the opposite runway, which is literally what happened. And everybody was all, and I was like, this
You
is
can't do that.
like
Yeah,
this is just a catastrophe waiting to happen. I don't
yeah,
know what's going to
absolutely.
happen there, but it was like, as soon as I left that airport, I was like, nope, never again. If anybody wants to go to Palm Springs, like I'm not doing it. I'm going to get someone else to fly that trip. I'm not going. I'm out. Like I'm
Uh,
busy. I'm going to pick a different
So
destination.
I have a lot of experience flying in that area. It's a very popular area in my previous job. Palm
Yeah.
Springs itself, the main Palm Springs airport, great, highly recommend, love it.
Yeah.
Air traffic control, two airports south of there, absolute dumpster fires. Bermuda
Yeah, those are the
Dunes
ones.
and
The ones
Thermal. It
yeah.
is thermal is probably needs a Delta tower. It is very busy.
Thermal, that was the one I was
Yeah,
at.
thermal
You want to
can
remember
be
the
a
name.
hot mess. And then Bermuda Dunes is just north of there. One, it's impossible to find. It's extremely busy and it blends in with the road. And then you can't even go on the taxiway because there's literally houses that have just their like hangars and garages that go over the taxiway. It is a wild, wild place. I just go to
Yeah.
Palm Springs, pay the extra money and go to Palm Springs. I
Yeah,
promise
I
you.
think that's what I'll do next time because I didn't enjoy that. And I think when I was like, it's just gonna be safer if we just take off VFR. And then I flew through some restricted airspace, and God, it was a disaster. I'd never do it again.
The LA, the LA airspace can be kind of can be a little complicated, especially LA itself. I remember we were taking off out of Van Nuys one time, and it was really early in the morning. The guy's like, "All right, fly to this radial, and this radial, and this radial, and this and this." Like, bro, it's 2024. Like, can we not get GPS points right now? It's like it's 4
Yeah,
a.m. No one's out here. It's like just give me the
yeah.
departure, and it's like,
Well,
oh, sorry, that's how we always did it. It's like, fine.
yeah. See, and like I learned to fly at Cal, like our main international airport here, so it
Yeah.
was really busy, and you'd be like the little 172 squished between all the bigger jets and stuff. So I always found big airports were easiest for me because I'm like, if you're just good at just doing what someone says,
Hmm.
you're fine. Like you can fly into a big busy airport. Those were the easiest for me, like Vancouver National, SeaTac,
Yeah.
all those airport, or anything where they have the big air traffic control. It's like you're set up. Everything, what you're going to do about 100 miles before the airport because you
Yeah.
have to fly the arrivals, you have to fly this, and then they just vector you for an ILS. I was like, it doesn't get easier than that. It's with the challenging part up here. It was like, okay, now you have an airport where there's no air traffic control. It's IFR. And now there's two airplanes arriving at the same time, just two airplanes. And one wants to do an ILS and the other one wants to do a visual or something like that. And then center just says, all right, like you're cleared for this approach. And then you might have someone doing circuits in the,
Yeah.
it's like, that's where it gets really challenging because now you got to figure out, okay, well, how do I do how do I manage this all? Like now I'm responsible for, for making sure that I don't collide with one other airplane that's flying around.
Yeah.
And so that was always the challenge. And actually you see it here a lot. Like students will get, they'll practice at at one of the airports here that has air traffic control and it's busy and they get really good at that. And as soon as they're at an uncontrolled airport, it's like, okay, well, like, what do I do? Who do I talk to? Or like you have to, so you have to manage it. And that could be a lot more. I find it's more workload flying into an uncontrolled airport if there's traffic in the area than flying to a busy airport where at least you have, some sort of air traffic control service that
Mhm.
can, they tell you what they can see everybody that's
Yeah,
know
for
what's
sure.
going on. It can get hectic. Obviously, like I think like once you land, that's the hardest part is in trying to figure out your way to where you need to go and stuff. And thank God for safe taxi. But that's kind of how I learned. Flying in busy airspace was always a little bit. It was easier for me. So I would always prefer to go into like a busier airport than to go into an uncontrolled airport, because to me there was a lot more risk in flying into an uncontrolled airport or a place that doesn't have facilities. So
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think it has to do with what you're used to, right? Like what you're brought up in training. I did my training at a Delta airport. It was relatively busy, but like I felt comfortable with that amount of traffic, with those instructions. And then you go to like you said, you go to an uncontrolled field and there's not many traffic in there. There's not much traffic in the area. You just go in and land. But you go to a busy uncontrolled field and it's a hot mess. You're just waiting for someone to hit you. You don't trust the person. You have to count on someone being courteous eventually to let you in, or to extend their base, or you do that for someone else. And then you go to a Bravo airport and you might think it's the most intense place in the world. I remember when I was young, you probably don't know. Do you know where Fort Wayne, Indiana is? That was like a big airport people went to for Charlie airports. It's in Indiana. It's really dead.
Okay, yeah.
But just the idea of going to a Charlie airport, having to talk to approach, having to talk to clearance when you come out, like that idea was something I've never done before. So I thought it was just like the most crazy thing you could possibly do in a 172. Yeah. But now I'm with you. It's like my favorite place to fly is New York. I love the New York controllers. You listen to what they say and you do it right, and everything works out. As soon as you do something wrong, they'll cut down your throat and they won't let you know. It's like, I like having my expectations. Like, you need to do this right now when I say it, and that's how you do it. It's like, done. Thank you. Please, let's do it again.
Yeah, that's the thing. At an uncontrolled airport, if something doesn't, like, if something's incorrect, it's 100% your fault.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't matter. If there's another pilot that does something messed up, it's still your fault because, or, it's both of yours fault because you're both supposed to coordinate. So it's like, I had an airplane once literally line up to take off we were ready to go, and he pulled out on the runway and we were going to take off in the opposite direction. And it was like, if I wasn't like, hey man, like, what the heck are you doing? Do not take off. Then, it would have been
not good. Would not have ended well.
But that was an uncontrolled airport. And the people there, when I talked to them after, they're like, well, yeah, okay, we'll let them know. And I was like, I don't think you get the gravity of like how serious that could have been. Yeah. But the responsibility is still shared. So
yeah.
So
I had that happen at where were we? David Hooks. It's near Houston. It has a water runway and it also has a normal runway, but the tower is closing, and some guy the tower closed right after we landed. And he was like, all right, everyone that's taxiing, make sure you let this jet, they can only turn off on this one taxiway because it's the only one that supports their weight. And this is at a previous company, not the company I'm now. And he was like, all right, guys, I'm out. Make sure that jet goes where it needs to go. And everyone's like, all right. And this one plane just like comes out of the hangar and just like turns onto the runway, and they're like, bro, you're literally right where we need to go. Like, get out of here. And he's like, I'm getting ready to take off. I was like, do you not see the jet that's literally in front of you? And he's like, what do you want me to do? It's like, get out of our way.
Get out of the way. Yeah. Just stay where you are a little longer.
Yeah. So uncontrolled airports, man, it's just like, it's crazy. It can be the wild, wild west.
So there's a lot of times you go from one uncontrolled airport to another uncontrolled airport.
Yeah.
The whole process says sometimes you don't talk to anybody. So
yeah, absolutely. No, and it can be very quiet. Talk about kind of any challenges you had in your flight training at all.
When I first started flying, obviously I think nowadays the big challenge is cost. For most people, they have to, like, there's some students that I've known that have taken on a lot of debt to become a pilot. And I think there's sort of a kind of tunnel vision towards like, okay, well, if I'm going to become this kind of pilot. And I've got friends that are like that are learning to fly right now. And they're like, nope, this is like exactly what I want to be doing. And which is, I guess maybe that's not a bad thing either, but, my experience was totally different. It was like, I didn't know what was in store for me. I just know that all the licenses are the same. So whether you're going to take this career path or this career path, you still have to get all your licenses and ratings the same. So just focus on that and don't get too I think the big challenge is just figuring out how to do that in a timely and cost-effective manner, which for me was picking a time in my life that would have been, where I could focus on that the most, but also be able to support that, because now is more important that people can still, fund their flight training and not get in too deep with like, okay, now I've got all this debt. Now how am I, like, I need to get a job, right? And obviously it was different for me because I like the flight training wasn't this like near as expensive. I think like my private license cost me like $7,000.
Oh dang! People are gonna be so sad. They're gonna be like, "What the heck?"
And you could rent a twin for 150. I was renting a little twin for $150 an hour. Like,
jeez, was that wet or dry? Do you remember?
What's that?
Was it wet or dry?
Well, that was wet.
Yeah.
Right? Yep.
Jeez.
And they would just sometimes the owner of the plane of the flight school, he'd be like, "Yeah, just take the plane and like go pick up Jim. We got the another 172s broke down. You'd go pick up the instructors because they're stuck at this airport, and it'd be sweet. I can log 3 hours for free. But now I think it's more important. The challenge, the big challenge that I didn't have was obviously how expensive it is now. And I think there's this is a reality right now, is that there is the whole perception of a pilot shortage, which there still is right now, but it's not for new pilots. It's for up here in Canada for sure. It's for pilots that have maybe 1,000 hours of PIC time, right? It's the captain positions that they're short of. So, and I experience that right now. Like I could throw a job ad out and get probably hundreds of responses, but that would be, there wouldn't be enough qualification to do this job. It'd be like, hey, yeah, I got 400 hours. I just got my commercial license. I got maybe 500 hours, and I've got maybe 20 hours of multi-time, right? But then it's the point, great, we got lots of pilots there now, but it's the 1,000 hours of PIC time pilots that are missing, and that's just going to take time. There's still that gap, I think.
Yeah.
And I know so many people right now that are trying to find contract pilots, and they're like, they'll pay literally, like they'll pay a lot of money for these people, but they just don't exist. Those pilots aren't there. They're scooped up doing other things, and they're just not there yet. So there's still a pilot shortage problem. It's not in new pilots. It's now like that deficiency is kind of moved, or that deficient part of the pilot. That
makes sense. Yeah, it's kind of like the gap where everything is. Yeah, absolutely.
So trying to find that is challenging.
Yeah. Do you think there's ever a world where you would find yourself finally thinking, maybe the airlines are the way to go?
You know what? Maybe, yeah. And actually, so my brother's a pilot as well. And him and I we're very close, so we talk a lot about what what we want to do with flying and whatnot. And he learned to fly after me, and it was great because like him and I could then, I trained him on these airplanes, and we both do contract flying together. But we talk all the time about like, well, what is like maybe we want to fly airplanes in the future. I've always left it open, fly airline stuff in the future. And I've always left it open because I have no idea. Like, I don't know how, I didn't think I'd be doing this contract flying for this long, but, I love it. The money's great. The flexibility is incredible. The adventures have been awesome. So I don't know. And I look at some of my airline friends and I'm like, man, that'd be pretty cool to be able to fly across the ocean. But then I'm like, man, every time I've flown across the ocean, whether it's for, to go for fun, I don't know if I'd want to sit in an airplane for 12 hours. And that's just not my lifestyle, I don't think. So it might come in a different point in my life, but I think being more open-minded makes you kind of a little bit more accepting of more opportunities.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Just having like, if I was just focused on, okay, I want to do airline flying, and then, if that wasn't something that I ended up in, I'd be disappointed. So I've tried to be really open-minded with like so my dream would be like, okay, if I get a float plane job, like I've even looked at like jobs that would generally perceptually be considered, going backwards in your aviation career. Like I'm like, man, it'd be fun to just go fly float planes out in, Tofino and BC on the ocean. And like, that sounds awesome to me. I'm like,
there's a place
that's what every retired airline pilot will do.
Yeah. No,
once they retire, they buy a little airplane, they fly it around, and no, and in the wilderness.
Yeah, a lot of them do that. There's a place in Florida, it's called Tropic Air, and they just go to and from the islands. They go
Hmm.
in caravans, and they just fly to the Bahamas, and then they come back.
Yeah,
I think they fly like a lot of legs a day, but I mean, it's kind of fun to go land in the water. And
oh,
my buddy was the chief pilot, and he was like just posting up in the water, just like swimming next to his plane. He's like, all right, now we're gonna go take off and do another leg. I was like, that sounds
yeah,
sick. Like, I
and
would have loved to build my time that way. It's like, I don't want to make that my career right now, but one day, that could be a cool
yeah.
option.
Well, and that's the thing is like for some people that is a great career,
Yeah.
and uh, and it's a very rewarding career.
Oh, for
I mean,
sure.
I just know some people that do that, and they're the happiest. They're I mean, in more ways than just the flying part. Like they're physically strong. They're just like because they're out in their work is more physically demanding, right? Like
Hmm.
they're just because of the environment they're in, and I think it just serves their it serves their body and their mind. They're just happy, really they enjoy doing that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
and so the airlines just don't really fit me yet. But I have a huge appreciation for people that do
for
that
sure.
um, because it's an essential thing, and you have to have brilliant people behind the scenes and flying the airplanes, mechanics, air traffic. It's the biggest part I think of the industry. I think,
Yeah.
um, but I just haven't got there yet because this is what I love. I love the adventure part, and I just can't find that in big airports and hotels.
It's a different kind of adventure for sure.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
But it's great that you have an open mind about it. Cause I mean, I was like, for sure. I was like, I would tell everyone, even on this podcast, you listen to one like 3 years ago and it's me being like, I'm never going to the airlines. Like this is maybe not 3 years ago, probably like 6 years ago. Cause it
Yeah,
definitely did sway at some point. And people could probably pinpoint when it did. But I mean, I was just like, this is all I want to do. I'm never going 121. And then as we talked about before, it was just kind of like, I started seeing people, some of my friends, they're upgrading, they're captain. I was like, well, what's their pay? And I was like, holy smokes, they're year 3 captain and they're making more than what like a year 10 captain makes at where I am at. And they fly so much less. So at some point it's like, all right, well, better quality of life. They could have more money and they only fly like 2 legs a day where I'm flying like 5 legs a day. I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I working
yeah,
so
yeah,
hard and not making that much money? So there
yeah,
definitely comes a point where it does look advantageous. And you hopefully if it ever does happen, you're in a position where they are hiring and they need pilots because there are some times that might click and you're like, dang it, there's no hiring,
yeah, 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 totally. Well, and that was the I found up here like there's I've never made a resume except for once, and it was like flooded with like I had so much opportunity
Hmm.
to go fly for. I mean, up here they would literally strap you to an airplane if they could, and they some of the airlines were very eager to hire people.
Yeah.
Like they'd hire you over the phone, and and contract flying. There's another fellow that I got the pleasure of meeting. We kind of got connected because he flies like he does contract work as well, and it was his life was like copy paste mine just in a jet. And that's the one thing that I that I I'm really fortunate that this is kind of the pathway that I've taken because I think contract flying is one of the most for the amount of time and work you put in, it's one of the most lucrative flying gigs you can get. Just because of the necessity that it gave. Someone needs to if the owners need to fly somewhere, you're the guy, right?
Hmm.
If you're not there, nobody flies, right? And they're not just gonna they can't just go and hire someone else because you're the guy they know, the airplane, and so the you may not fly a lot, but it's not based on how much you fly. It's based on how much time you're available.
Hmm.
That's where the compensation comes in,
Yeah.
and you can set your own rates. Like I've got a guy that he won't fly unless he makes. I mean, he makes more than he does flying for the airline that he does.
Yeah.
And he's been I think he's like a 7-year captain, and he just comes. He's like, shit. He's like, I like hopping in the Conquest. So you just get to fly like 2 hours to this place and hang out, go have a beer, and
Heck yeah.
spend the night. And then next day, it's like, oh, we don't fly till the afternoon, so he might go hit the beach for a bit and then fly 2 hours to come back home. And he likes that as just a little side gig kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the airlines, I'd never cancel that out necessarily. But as soon as I hear, I'm like, oh man, I'd have to leave the people that I've got here as well.
Yeah.
Kind of
You
stranded.
could do both. You never know.
Yeah, so
You'd be that guy. Yeah.
flying big jets would be super cool.
Yeah.
I'd love to do that sometime.
It's definitely different than flying little planes. The sight picture got me for a long time. Landing the latitude was a lot lower than landing 737. So I'd be like, all right, my wheels are boom. I was like, shoot, I got to figure this out.
And there's a guy that I got, I hired him it'd be a couple of years ago. And he was like a 25-year 777 captain.
Oh, dang.
And he would go from that to the 425. And it was like somehow he could just do it like that seamlessly. And it wasn't like any change at all for him.
That's awesome.
425. I'm like, oh yeah, buddy, I got this. And he'd land silky smooth, and then he'd go and hop in the triple and
like, see ya.
same thing. Well, I've never flown with him in the triple, obviously, but I'm assuming it's silky smooth. He's one of those people that
some people just got it.
He's flying, like he's flown everything you can imagine.
Yeah,
and so some people are just they're just born to be pilots.
For
like
sure.
that.
Tell me, give me one story, and I'm gonna go from each side of things. Give me like the best day of your work. So a quick story in that, and kind of like the worst day you've had at your work.
Yeah, so I'd say the best day is I've had lots of great days. And for me, it's all about like the people I'm flying. Like if we do fishing trips, I love those because you get paid to fish, and sometimes it's just a matter of like the guys I'm flying, they'll get this idea like, hey, we want to go here. We're gonna go to the lodge, and we're gonna go salmon fishing for 3 days, and then you get there and you spend 3 days fishing, and then they're about to go home, and then you come up with this wild idea. You're like, well, guys, you guys all have your passports? Like, we could go to. You guys want to pop on down to somewhere? And it's just kind of a pie in the sky idea, and then the owner's like, "That's a good idea," and then everybody else is like, "Are we extending the trip?" And then it continues on from there, kind of thing, or whatever. And a lot of it, the flying is for work, but they always get I always like the kind of the unknown element. So usually, like if I've done trips like that, there's kind of a component of, well, we could just where should we go next? Like,
right.
We got all the friends in the back, their friends in the back of the plane, and
let's go hang out somewhere else. Let's continue.
Yeah. So like when we do Mexico trips, that's usually kind of how we get down to Mexico, and then coming back, they just pick spots like, hey, we'd like to take, let's stop here and let's hang out there and go poke around, Reno for a bit. Oh, I haven't been to Reno. Oh, we haven't been to North Dakota. Well, I can tell you, there's nothing in North Dakota.
You're not missing much.
Not in the wintertime.
Yeah, definitely not.
Nothing against North Dakota. It's it's a powerhouse for the oil business. So so you got to it's an important place. But in the wintertime, it's cold. So but stuff like that where you just kind of the unknown parts have been some of the best days ever, because you're like, sweet, like I don't know where we're going, we don't know what's here, but we're gonna try to fly there and see what
we're gonna have fun.
Yeah. And then the worst days have always been not. I love all the weather flying, so for me, like if it's I always like flying to the coast because the weather's more interesting there. If it's like a blue sky day like it is today here in Calgary, I'm not as interested, because to me it's just not as exciting. So I like the mountain flying. I like the weather flying. I like the elements of that, especially in the winter up here because it gets really cold. But for me, it's the worst days are always when it's heavy snow and you're stuck at an airport up here and it's minus. Well, I guess what would it be in Fahrenheit to be, but Celsius would be like minus 30, and you're stuck on a ramp and it's snowing, and the snow's kind of like, like it's cold, but it's like, it's sticking to the airplane and that kind of stuff. And it's nighttime, and then you got passengers that aren't showing up on time, and that stuff I hate that, because, and then once you're in the air, you're like Like they can relax.
Finally.
I mean, the flying is the easiest part in doing anything like this. It's all the stuff before that, because you're always worrying about, okay. And sometimes like the worries are simple little things like, okay, did I forget to book rental cars for, someone, or like stuff like that doesn't really apply to actually flying the airplane at all. So
right. It's like you're like a travel agent. It's like the complete trip, right? Like you gotta do everything.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, and then most of the time they do have they have their assistants that will line that stuff up, but sometimes they just look to you because they trust you, and they're like, Evan, like line us up a rental car because this is going to be a fun trip with me and the wife and these other people and that are coming along, and you're the guy, right? And they also might just include you in everything too, which sometimes is stressful.
Which works too.
You just want to go do your own thing. And then they want to include you. Like, no, we got dinner plans tonight. We're bringing you. We'll meet you here at 7. You're like, darn it.
Yeah. So you're like, that steak does sound kind of good though.
You have to be a good people person.
Yeah.
And it's surprising how many pilots don't like people.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Like
you gotta know how to handle personalities, right? You gotta understand how to talk to people.
Yeah, exactly. And somehow make them always feel comfortable, but then lighthearted fun is always important when doing this kind of stuff. Well, as you know, like flying for NetJets, you probably had you deal with lots of people like face to face, right?
Oh, yeah. If you're diverting, you got bad news. It's just one of these. You're like, hey, we can't get in. The weather's bad. It's like you don't have a door in front of you. It's face to face, and you see them get angry, and you see their wheels turning. And where's my car? How do I get there? What about my food? What about this? What about my meeting here? They're on the phone. It's like, all right, dude. Yeah, we actually can't get in there now either. We're going somewhere else. And they're like, yeah.
Oh yeah, I've had people like, there's one fella, and he'd just sit in the back, and he'd just throw mints at you when when the cabin was too cold or something like that.
Yeah.
You'd throw mints from the back, and then. Like stuff like, but those people I've learned to love and appreciate because they're all brilliant people, and they're all totally different from one another. But you learn a lot from those people,
Absolutely.
and they're airplane owners. Their whole purpose is running their business, and they've all got families too. So you can relate to their passion as well. It's like they're passionate about other things just as much as I am about airplanes and doing the flying for them. But that's what I love about this job is being with those different types of people. And when we finish a trip and they're all happy, like, yep, see you like next week. I'm like, it's like that's good. That's what makes me feel good about doing it. Yeah. And they trust you. The trust is they don't have to tell you that. You can just tell. Like they trust you a lot.
Yeah.
Especially when they load the plane up with their family and stuff, and you're like,
yeah, absolutely, it's a big deal. It's a very big deal.
No other pilot, and then that means a lot to me. So that's one of the reasons why it's hard to go to something else, because I feel like I would miss that a lot, and I'd be jealous if someone else came and took my spot. To be honest, that's I feel like I've worked a lot of
absolutely,
just to build that up, and I didn't even know I was, because I was enjoying the flying and
You're like, wait a second, I got a business now. It's how'd this happen?
It's kind of like, it's like anything. You put a lot of effort in. If it's something you love to do, you could put a lot of effort and time into it, and you don't realize you put a lot of effort and time into it.
Which is good.
So
I got one more question for you. We kind of talked about it, but you can kind of sum it up in one thought here. If someone's listening to this right now, they're like, man, I don't really want to do the airlines either. Or I don't want to do this. Your style or what you have created is what I want. Give me 3 tips on what you'd recommend someone starting out that's just getting ready to get into the contract world or getting into the single pilot world. What would you recommend for them to be successful in what you do?
Awesome. So there's a video on my channel, and when I made this video, it was about how to get your first pilot job. And when I made the video, I thought, I kind of talked very vague about details, and I sort of just talked about, well, you got a network and all this other kind of stuff that seemed a little cliche and whatnot. And it was crazy how well received that video was. And there were so many people that were like, oh man, I got my first job like doing this exact same thing. So it was the complete opposite of what I thought. And I almost didn't release the video because of that. But I talked a lot about like how important it is to get to know people, and that is still the biggest thing. And with contract flying, this was kind of a lucky thing, but airlines, the exact same thing. I know a guy that was yeah, he did a career change. He was 40, I think mid 40s, and he just got his commercial license. And he knew a guy really well that was operating a international medevac, flying a G100.
Okay.
So a little Gulfstream all over planet Earth. And he got hired at, I think it was just under 400 hours to
Oh
be
wow.
a FO. And he basically checkmarked planet Earth. Like you see like where this guy flew, picking up patients all over the world. And he'd been to like every country I can think of. Um, and that was all because of just a good connection. And that connection that he had, I ended up being friends with him as well. And he's provided so many opportunities for me, most of which I just couldn't take because of my current job. But that was probably one of the best examples. I was like, if you want to fly a certain type of airplane or go into a certain career path, you can definitely probably make that happen. You just got to get to know those people, and
Hmm.
not in like the way that's like, hey, I'm just trying to build an opportunity for myself. I'm like put in the hours just to become good friends with those people. So like for me, the clients that I have, they trust me a lot and they hire me because of not necessarily my piloting skills or like that's obviously required, but they hire me because, well, I go and I sit with them and we talk about things completely irrelevant to that. I'm not just like digging for opportunity from these people. It's like I genuinely put the time and effort in to go and this sounds bad, but like sit with them
Yeah, get to
and
know them,
go for
right?
dinner
Yeah.
with them when they have their business meetings and like hang out with them, right? Because then they're just like, well, this Evan guy, like he just likes us. He's like, and it's true because I do. So I think like if new pilots, if they want to get into a career right out of the gate and have a big advantage, is to start networking with people and get to know them at like a friend level. That's so important. And it's the same thing with I think that with any job, people always hire people that they know before anything else. They always pull from that pool of people that
Hmm.
they know, right? And um, I think like having a strong resume is important too, but also having like good quality hours in airplanes is important too. So I
Yeah,
think if you can
agree.
get some time, even just sitting right seat, that says a lot on a resume too. Like, hey, even if you sit in the right seat of a King Air and you see what's going on, and maybe you can't log the hours necessarily, but that experience is still something you can showcase, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's out of touch a lot of for a lot of new pilots to just go and say, well, okay, I need to get I need to log some hours in a King Air. We can't
Yeah.
necessarily you can't rent those hours, but if you can get experience, tag along, hang out at airports. Like it's just
Yeah. That's
amazing
a
how
good
many
one.
times I've gotten free rides with people just because other owner operators are proud to. They're people that have airplanes love showing off their airplanes. So
Hmm.
you can go to any airplane on ride. It could be you can. I've hopped on rides on jets just because you just go and you talk to the pilots and then the owner's there and he's like, "Yeah, why don't you hop on?" And then you just hop on the airplane. That's in Canada. I imagine in the States it's
It's the
probably
exact same thing.
tenfold that because there's 10
Hmm.
times more airplanes, right? But you just got to be a likable personality and be
Yep.
fun and that's I think everybody is kind of in the same boat, whether they own airplanes, whether they have a lot more money than you, whether they have fancy airplanes or they're just flying the airplanes. They're like everybody just wants friendly people around them. So if
Yeah.
you can be a friendly personality that's eager and that shows enthusiasm and loves flying, has a passion for not just flying but also like the mechanics of aviation. There's so many ways you can build your own resume up without having to put it on paper and make opportunities for yourself.
For sure. And I mean, there's a lot to say about just being a likable person and coming in with a good attitude. Because at the end of the day, they want to make sure. I mean, even this goes to airlines. I guarantee you, most jobs, what they look for, they want to make sure that they can sit with you for 8 to 10 hours a day and not want to kill you, essentially, not want to like murder you.
Totally.
And they want to be able to go get
Yeah.
dinner with you and be like, all right, we're cool. This is a cool person. Let's go fly.
Yeah. See,
So
and
just be a good person, be chill, and a lot of things will
yeah,
kind of open up for you.
And I think, my dream when I started flying was to be like an airline pilot. I thought that was one of the
Mm,
coolest things, right? And I think, I think what the big difference is airline flying. You can, because you're dealing with new people every single
hmm.
day, but there's ample opportunity to be a friendly face there too, right? Like, it's rare. Even if, I've hopped on lots of commercial flights recently, just going back and forth to places, and you never see the pilots. I don't know if that's they're either doing something else, but I'm like, well, there's an opportunity to stand out if you are a pilot to be more present and maybe I don't know. You've been in the world, so I'm sure you can give a lot more advice on that.
Yeah, no, I
But for me,
totally makes sense.
it's the hours you put in outside of flying that are so important when it comes to people skills
Yeah,
and like I said, people will hire always who they know first, and you can't fake that. You just have to practice it.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, and
Those
flying
are
for
all,
jets, like frick, that's a cool job. Like,
it was a great
flies
job.
a pretty amazing. You think about the value of what the machine you get to fly,
Yeah,
doing a job like that, and the people you get to fly. I mean,
yeah.
that's pretty freaking cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great job, and there was like I tell people now, like, hey, if this is what you want to do, if this is what you want out of your career, like the best place for you to go is to go to NetJets. If
Yeah,
that's not what you want, then go to the airlines. But there's definitely a very specific person that does very well at that job, and it can be a great career. I could have retired number two there. It was great for my lifestyle at the point in time that I was there. But then when lifestyles changed for us, and we needed a different kind of fit for a job that what we could do and required a little bit more schedule flexibility, that's when the airlines kind of came in. I was like, all right, guess it's time to go. And that's the best thing about aviation. There's so many different jobs out there that you don't just put
uh-huh.
yourself in one bucket and sit there forever. It's like,
Yeah,
all right, I did
totally.
the corporate stuff. Now I'm going to go do the airline stuff. And once you go airlines, it's probably a little bit harder to go back to corporate just because you're in the seniority game. You're doing it all here. But
Yeah.
if you have the opportunity and you realize the airlines is not for you, don't be that miserable person that is an airline pilot for 30 plus years and no one wants to fly with you because you hate your job. It's like there are other jobs for you to go do and go do it.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, you can't get more well dressed than an airline pilot.
I
I
don't
mean,
love
it's
the
great.
hats. That's the only thing. I can't get on board with the hats, but I'll have
Yeah,
to. Yeah.
like with me, it's like we've it started off when I was doing this contract flying. Like, I dress up more and stuff, but then then you were doing more things with the clients and stuff, and
Mhm.
you're more involved in their lives, um some of the trips required just you were flying to really hot
Yeah.
destinations. So it was if I put on a dress shirt and stuff, they'd be like, "What the heck's wrong with you?"
Like I don't want to fly. I don't want to fly with this Evan. I don't want to fly
Yeah,
with the
yeah,
other
yeah.
Evan.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like don't limit yourself to one for new pilots for sure.
Yeah,
Don't limit yourself. I completely agree with that. Like keep an open mind,
for
and
sure, dude.
sometimes you got to take a job just to get the experience.
Hmm.
And I mean, it doesn't mean you can't be smart about certain you know picking certain pathways in order to get where you want to go. But definitely, you can make the best of every
Yeah,
scenario. Like I
100%.
said, like doing what I do has always been, this has been a dream come true. I think and it's why I've been able to find some other people to help out other pilots because there
Hmm.
is a pool of pilots that are now they're like, well, hey, like I'm flying 6 days a week for this airline, and I got all this other time, and I want to do some of this adventure flying, like sign me up, kind of thing.
Exactly.
And so they're kind of gone full circle now. They're like, hey, I want to get back into, but I can do the adventure flying as a contract pilot. Cool, like I could, and then I look at them, kind of like, well, hey, like I'd like to do what you do at some point. So,
Yeah,
so it's yeah, it's all fun, and yeah, just don't limit
agreed.
yourself. That's the
Absolutely.
main thing. So.
Well said, man. I appreciate your time. I appreciate coming on. It was a good time talking with you and learning your experience and seeing kind of what kind of general aviation in Canada is like. It was just it's really cool, and you find such a really pretty area of the world and of your country that a lot of people just don't understand. I mean, even just talking about British Columbia, like the one time I flew to Vancouver, I was just like looking outside the whole time. I was like, oh my gosh, this is sick. Like, I need to come back here. It's kind of like going to Seattle for the first time. You're just like, whoa, this is cool.
Yeah. And then you take Seattle and you just chop it down to, fifth of the population or whatever. And that's Vancouver. Even Vancouver to me is like, oh, it's such a busy place. Like as soon as you're Vancouver, it's like, I want to go to the island. I want to get away from, I want to get to all the adventure stuff. And I don't want to deal with people or traffic. And I was just in Seattle, actually. Seattle's an amazing place because of the industry there and stuff. I like going to the museums and seeing all the, the ships in the harbor, and that kind of stuff fascinates me. Yeah. But I go there I don't go to Seattle for necessarily the hiking or the outdoor stuff, because to me, that's back in Canada because there's so much empty space to do that.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
You have for yourself, and
you're not wrong.
Yeah, but Seattle's those Seattle and those areas are amazing for the industry. That's what fascinates me. I mean, that's where you guys build all the airplanes.
It's where they build the airplanes. It's a place to be for aviation, right?
Important, yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool to be on the podcast. I appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, man. Anytime. I need to come up to Canada and we can hang out, and you can show me around the Conquest, and we can take us to Banff. You can take my wife and I to Banff. I'm gonna make you.
Yeah. Well, actually, we're going
because you seem like you would know where to go.
Yeah. I've got some people who are going out today actually to Banff.
Oh, sick,
we're gonna go poke around there and maybe
I'm jealous. We'll make it happen.
Winter comes because we only get 2 months a year.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Perfect, dude. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much again for coming on. This is awesome.